Coming your way on a Friday, it is the Vegas Take. Live, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn. Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with J.D. Sharp. Live in studio is Brian Feldman, host of Out of Line over on Fox Sports Radio, 8 to 9 a.m.s every Sunday. And also from the GCI guys, Lee Goldman or Goldberg.
You got to get something
joining
right.
us. You know what I was thinking? I was making sure the initials were lined up, baby.
Does the name cost
and
a
then
fine
I had to jack up
That's
the
a
last
$25
name.
fine. Yeah,
There
when you
it
get
is.
the letters wrong, it's a $100 fine. The thing is, I've known this guy like 17 years.
I know, and I can't believe I didn't. Yeah, that's not something that would
CTE
normally
also
happen.
affects broadcasters. You didn't know that?
Yes, I did know this. From putting the headphones on and off all the time.
Sometimes there's a click.
It is Lee Goldberg, a fine
thanks.
former sportscaster in Orlando, now working in the business of real estate. And we're going to still stick around and talk a little football, though, because the Oakland Raiders, of course, moving to Las Vegas next year, and the stadium is going up in Allegiant Stadium. Wow.
That's so nice.
What a absolutely spectacular venue. But I got to get into this whole fandom situation, gentlemen. I want to get your takes on this, because here's the deal. All right, we got this with the Vegas Golden Knights, right, Brian and Lee, where, it's obviously the first ever franchise in Las Vegas. And so there was going to be people who grew up here or who never were a fan of an NHL team, that was going to be their team, without question. But then you had these fans, and I just don't get it. And Feldman, you got to be lined up with me on this, I would believe, is these fans that were fans of the Blackhawks or fans of the Rangers or fans of, you name the team, and all of a sudden, boom, 2 weeks into the season, they're Vegas Golden Knights fans, and they're claiming their fandom to the Vegas Golden Knights, and I just didn't feel it. So now switching this, and Lee, I want to get your take first. With the Raiders, is there really going to be the same type of deal, you think? Once the Raiders are here in Las Vegas, are there going to be fans who are fans of the Seahawks or fans of the Rams or of the Detroit Lions or the Chicago Bears or the New York Giants that are going to be, I've been in Vegas for 16 years or 15 years. Now the Raiders are my team.
Here's the thing. I think in hockey, it's a little bit different, right? I find it surprising that a Red Wings or a Blackhawks fan would drop their allegiance like that. That's surprising. Maybe a Florida Panthers fan or something like that.
Right.
But with the Knights, it's a little bit different. I think you could still buy into that. The Raiders, it's a little different because it's the NFL. And especially, if, let's say you are a Bronco fan, how can you be a Raider fan all of a sudden? I liken it as I'm a Doll fan my whole life. Mm-hmm. They haven't been good since I was 8 years old. I'm renouncing my rights, and I'm behind Vegas Raiders all day long, and I don't have a problem. If all things are being equal and your teams suck, and they've sucked forever, then, all right, you know what? I'm going to get behind the local team as an adult. I've lived in Orlando for a long time, and as a sportscaster, I was in Orlando, Greensboro, North Carolina, Midland, Odessa, Texas, Laredo, Texas, Tampa College. So I haven't lived anywhere with a professional team aside from the tragic Magic in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'm loving it. I think it's great. But I think you're going to have a harder time for NFL fans when it's going against their team. Yeah, they might go with their team. Any other week, if it's, not a rival, then they'll probably go with the Raiders maybe. But then you'll have guys like me. I'm renouncing the rights to the Dolphins. Are you still going to be a Lions fan? I mean, if they still suck, then why wouldn't you also buy into the Raiders?
I have accepted years ago, Lee, that I was a masochist. So I am going to remain a Detroit Lions fan until I die. The one question was funny. I was just talking about this last night. Will I see or sniff a Super Bowl before I leave this great planet? I don't know. My dad and I were talking about that when I was home visiting the other day. He's 81. I'm like, Dad, at least in 57 you saw a championship. Don't hold your breath, okay? I mean that's where we're at right now. But I will remain a Lions fan. It's a little easier for me, Lee, and you brought it up, the AFC NFC thing. AFC West fans, I cannot see a Kansas City Chiefs fan ever wearing a Raiders jersey if you're a real Kansas City. Same thing with the Broncos, the Chargers. They're never putting on a Raiders jersey. I can never wear a
Jets fan as a Dolphin.
Oh my God,
it'll never happen.
If you did, I disown you as a friend, and I just met you today.
Right.
Same thing. Jets or Patriots. You wear one of those jerseys, I'll be sick.
Right.
But the Raiders, it's like different. They're coming here. It's an AFC team for me. And I said this, Chris, and I'll bet you as a Lions fan will echo these sentiments. I said my goal right now, my dream, is every year the Detroit Lions play the Oakland Raiders in the playoffs. You know what that'll mean? They're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm down. And at that point in time, Lee, to answer your question
Then you're
directly and
Lions.
succinctly, I am wearing my Lions jersey.
Yes.
My old Barry
At
Sanders
least get the
jersey,
first one. Then maybe you can
100%.
switch.
Yeah.
I think it's unbelievable how the Lions have only won one playoff game with the best running back of all time.
And what about one of the greatest receivers in Calvin Johnson, who went through a 10-year career without a payoff?
And Benny
playoff win?
Blades.
or even Herman Moore. And
I love Benny
they've-
Blades.
Herman Moore.
Went to my
Billy-
high school.
Billy Sims went through his career without a playoff win.
And
Yes.
they've forced two Hall of Fame players to retire at the age of 31. Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson.
Nine,
But I
but
can't-
9 and 10-year
I
careers.
I
like
still can't
Detroit,
believe,
for
though,
the
Lee,
record.
as a Dolphins fan, though, you're not just repping the Larry Zonka jersey from
No.
back in the day in '72.
Dude, I was
even though you were young, even you weren't even born yet.
I was born at
Still.
75.
Yeah,
Come on,
but
man.
but it's a history. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
great,
Like
yeah. No.
my favorite player in Detroit Lions history is Billy Sims, and you know I can't imagine.
If you didn't watch it happen, you can't claim it.
That's true.
If you
So-
weren't there for it, you can't
hard to
claim it.
argue
You
that
can
point.
admire it, but you can't claim it, you know? You just can't. It's like Florida Gator fans. Oh, we won 3 national. You're a freshman in college, okay? You weren't there for them. You can't claim them. I'm
I
sorry.
gotta tell you though, man, there's a lot of fans here in Vegas that grew up in Vegas that are Bears fans and that are youngsters, and they talk 85 Bears till the cows come home.
No, you
so
can't.
I'm
That's
telling
wrong.
You,
That's wrong.
It's so.
If
but
you
that's
didn't
some-
play
some
Tecmo Bowl,
teams-
if
some
you didn't play
franchises have that,
Tecmo
though.
Bowl with the 85 Bears, then you are not allowed to be in that
I think it
conversation.
was in television back then was the game. But no, you know,
In television, ColecoVision.
Yeah, I remember it. But I can't fully disagree with you. I think that you can't really claim it when you weren't alive during that time. Like I don't talk a lot about the 1957 NFL championship the
Right.
Detroit Lions won, but in the same respect, I do talk about the '68 World Series. Granted, I was 6 years old when it happened, but I talk about it. I don't remember it, but it's cool that it happened. And I always say in my lifetime, but this is where Lee's point is correct. In my lifetime, the Tigers have gotten me 2 World Series rings, right? The Red Wings now, 4 Stanley Cups?
Yes.
I'm good with that. The Pistons have gotten me 3 NBA titles. And the Lions have gotten me, in Hebrew terminology,
Bupkis.
bupkis. Yeah, thank you very much. There we go.
JD asked the question to you, and I didn't answer it as far as what it's like to be a Detroit Lions fan. JD, I can answer that in a very simple statement. It's called Chinese water torture, okay, my friend? It's you mentioned the one playoff win. I was in college at the time. We were throwing back all-you-can-eat wings at the Ground Round in Framingham, Massachusetts, back when I was at college. And when they knocked off the Dallas Cowboys in that playoff game, that is it. Everything
I was
else
there.
has been
I was.
bad. So
I say of all the events I've been blessed. I've gotten to cover a lot of events. 2 Super Bowls. I've been to NBA Finals. I've been to every championship of all the professional sports. The most exciting sporting event I've ever been to because of my heart was in 1991, actually January of 92.
Yep.
But the Detroit Lions playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, 80,000 people in the Silverdome. I always say I felt like Uncle Fester. Like if you stuck a light bulb in my mouth, it would light up. There was electricity in the air that day, and it was really cool to see. And I can't imagine if the Detroit Lions ever won a Super Bowl, they'd have to shut down the state for a day because no one would know what to do with themselves.
It is a great city, by the way. I was in Detroit last year for volleyball.
You were,
for my
yes.
daughter's
For your daughter's
volleyball.
volleyball. I saw that. Yeah.
I enjoyed Detroit a lot. And this summer we went to Indy. Indy on the sneak, by the way, is one of the best cities in the country.
Really?
Yes. Awesome.
And Detroit
Awesome
did get
city.
a lot of love for that Super Bowl that they hosted with the Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was they had a lot of positive reviews coming out of that. So
Well, the
it's
owner of Quicken Loans and the owner of Little Caesars, the former owner of Little Caesars, I should say, did a lot to make Detroit what it is today in the last decade or so. They've put a lot of money into that city.
Yeah, no question. It's the Vegas Take coming your way live on a Friday. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian Shapiro, along with Lee Goldberg, as well as Brian Feldman and J.D. Sharp. I want to get your take first, J.D., on a couple of the games going on this weekend. Of course, we've got a defending team that was in the Super Bowl and the defending NFC champions and the Los Angeles Rams. They're in Carolina to take on the Panthers. Of course, a lot of anticipation, I believe, to see what Cam Newton's going to do this year for this Carolina Panther team. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, an outstanding running back there. But Los Angeles Rams, I mean, we talk about the wonder kind, right? The young kid, the guy who, he's the mad genius on the offensive side of the ball. But you think the Rams are primed to be to make another run at the NFC Championship this year?
Actually, I don't. I like the team total under wins. I believe it's at 11 right now. I think that Jared Goff was just scared in that Super Bowl. I think that Bill Belichick's defense just kind of scared him straight. I also think that Clay Matthews was not a great addition for them over the offseason. And Todd Gurley just doesn't look healthy to me. Clearly, he's not healthy, in fact. And they do get Cooper Kupp back. Aaron Donald's he's probably the best defensive lineman in the NFL right now.
I think the best defensive player.
He could be the best
right
defensive player in the NFL right now. He's extremely good. But I think the Rams kind of falter a little bit this year. The same with the Saints. I think the Saints might win 8 games. I think they may miss the playoffs totally.
And Lee, we're hoping that obviously Hurricane Dorian doesn't affect the situation there playing in Charlotte, North Carolina, because of Cape Hatteras has gotten hit. And, you in fact, in your situation, you got into the real estate business, right, because of an actual storm that took place back in the day. And that's what kind of changed the tide for you, right?
I flew in last night from Dorian because I live in Orlando half the time. So I'm in real estate in Orlando and in Vegas. So I'm here 2 weeks a month. I'm there 2 weeks a month. And my team is here and there and everywhere. And so for us, first of all, this was the longest. This storm just took forever to get there.
It didn't move. The thing was stop in a dead stop basically in the Bahamas.
I feel terrible for the Bahamas. We dodged a bullet. We got so lucky in Florida and so lucky in Central Florida. It's not even funny. But Irma, and just for the record, Dorian put me out of business for the most part since a week ago last Tuesday.
Right.
So it's going it'll be 10 days this weekend. Things are first getting back today in Orlando. People want to see homes, right? Hurricane Irma 2 years ago shut me down 6 weeks ago. And that's when I said I need a second market. And that's when I came to Vegas. And that's when I started Vegas. And I said, for these 2% reasons.
2% increase in home sales this year so far.
Oh, mazel tov. And I, for me, I planned this trip to come here. And it just happened to be the day after, Dorian. So that's why I'm here, because of Mother Nature and natural disasters. I said, I need a second market. Where do I want to live the rest of my life? And that answer is very easy, Las Vegas for me. So,
and we've been talking about Antonio Brown, obviously, at the top of the hour and the situation with the Oakland Raiders. But the team he used to play for is taking on the Patriots, Brian. And I get your thoughts as the Patriots are in Pittsburgh. The Patriots are at Foxborough at home to take on the Steelers. Obviously, the Patriots defending Super Bowl champions, but a new-look Steeler team with a guy by the name of Smith-Schuster, who's going to be the main guy there now in Pittsburgh. And you look at a team that still has Ben Roethlisberger, and he's got something left in the tank. So that's going to be interesting to see exactly how that team responds without having, number 84 on the offensive side of the ball for them.
I'm looking forward to the Sunday night game, Pittsburgh at New England. But if you're going to say Juju Smith-Schuster's new, he's new to being the number one receiver.
Right. That's
but
what
I know what you meant. But then you got to also talk about James Conner as, even though last year he did make more or less his debut as the starter. These are two guys that now have a whirlwind of pressure on them in Pittsburgh to perform, because Conner is going to have to open up the passing game for Roethlisberger by running the football. And I just don't know. Is Ben Roethlisberger, he was talking about retirement 2 years ago. And so does he still have the desire and all this in the tank? And he lost two of arguably the best players at their position.
I think they're glad that they lost Antonio Brown, though. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, Lee. I'm not.
I think that's a good thing.
I don't think they're glad. They're unhappy about it, but it is a hell of a talent. And the same thing with Le'Veon Bell. Granted, Conner played well and stuff, and maybe running back is the most overrated position in the National Football League. As far as paying goes,
absolutely,
because it's such a short-lived position. But still, when a player's in his prime for those 2 or 3 years, they're difference makers, and we've seen it with Adrian Peterson. We have seen it with Le'Veon Bell, and I think that is a much bigger hole. And we're going to see it this year, because we'll see what Le'Veon Bell does with the Jets. I know there's a lot of Jets fans out there real excited this guy is coming to their team. I don't know. Does a year off make that much of a difference when you start getting up there in age as a running back?
Well, he's 27 years old. The thing about the Steelers is James Conner actually he was third in the NFL in touchdowns last year. He had 15 touchdowns, which is because that offensive line has not changed at all. They've still got Pouncey, they've still got Villanueva, they've still got Marcus Cooper. They've got a pretty solid, intact offensive line, and so I don't think that'll be affected too much this year with James Conner. But I think that overall the NFL this year is going to be low scoring. I like the under in this Patriots Steelers game. The Steelers.
Just tell me we're not going to see a lot of games like last night, because I don't know that I'll watch a lot of football.
I don't know if there's nothing wrong with watching a good defensive match. That's fine.
No, it's like watching 1-0 pitchers I go to sleep. Man.
As long as it's not totally sloppy. But I do think that the game we're probably looking at something like maybe a 27. Maybe a 27-21, but early or mid to low 20s for each team this week in the Patriots game. I would not be shocked at all to see the Steelers win the game. But the thing is, again, I talked about Stephon Gilmore. He is by far the best lockdown cornerback in the NFL, and Roethlisberger, he only really has Smith-Schuster to throw to right now. James Washington is a younger guy. He's going to do well, but he's not Antonio Brown.
I got to ask you, Chris. Talking about receivers and everything else in this Patriots Pittsburgh game. What about Josh Gordon? I mean, this has to be his final. I mean, I don't care how many naked pictures he has of Roger Goodell.
He's got at least 100.
How many more chances can they give this guy? And will he come through with this final chance? Because one thing is for damn sure, and we talked about this at our fantasy draft. When Josh Gordon is right, he has the talent level of the best receivers in the National Football League, without question.
Well, there's no doubt they need him because obviously the injury to the rookie N'Keal Harry, who's going to be out, I believe, 6 weeks with that injury. So, look, I still think Julian Edelman's the number one guy there, right? I would anticipate he's the guy, but there's no question.
They re-signed Demaryius
I can't help
Thomas.
but think about Josh Gordon and think of Randy Moss in 2007, right? I mean, he has that type of ability.
I think he's one of those guys that he just enjoys his marijuana more than he enjoys his career.
But see, I think this is why he's getting these extra chances because the league is going to flip on this very soon, just like they flipped on Vegas and they flipped on gambling. And I'm telling you right now, especially with CTE and concussions, marijuana is the number one thing that can help these guys. I have Darryl Talley, a very close friend of mine. Watching what some of these guys go through later in life, and Darryl, I have no idea what he uses, if anything, in terms of for his treatment. Yeah. But I know for a fact that marijuana would be very beneficial for these guys versus these opioids and these pain pills that kill their kidneys, their livers, their heart, fry their brain. That's why he's getting more and more chances, and it's an absolute absurdity that with the level of physicality that the NFL is to outlaw marijuana, which is legal in so many states, and when other leagues in their collective bargaining, it is not a prohibited substance. It's an absolute joke is what it is. And the NFL, the players in the NFL should actually be standing up for a lot of changes, and I think this needs to be one of them. This absolutely should be one of them because they're killing these guys and getting them hooked on substances when there's a natural legal remedy out there that can actually help them.
We talked about the declining importance of running backs in the NFL, guys. Got a nice matchup in Dallas as the Cowboys and Giants go at it. Two of the top running backs in the league. Obviously, the re-signing of extension signing of Ezekiel Elliott was huge for the Cowboys. But Saquon Barkley, a lot of fun to watch that guy. And I have an open question: is how long until Daniel Jones ends up on the field for the New York Giants? JD.
Ooh, I would say week. What's Eli? 37 years old right now. Offensive line's okay.
However long it takes for 3 more picks, which should be the end of game one.
I would say that if they get some type of big lead in the first 4 games, he'll play early. But I could see him being the full-time starter by week 7 or week 8.
I got to ask you, JD, a question, and I've said this a few times, and I've said it joking around. And you guys can all ponder on this. Eli Manning, I said, might be the first National Football League player to have played his way out of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
The first guy to play his way out. If he retires after that second Super Bowl, he's in the Hall at 32 years old.
And it shouldn't even be 2 Super Bowls.
No.
Shouldn't be 2 Super Bowls. Here's the thing. I've always been an opponent of him being in the Hall of Fame just because of his Super Bowls, really.
They're throwing around Hall of Fame to everyone.
You really? If the eyeball test, you think of Eli Manning as a Hall of Famer? Come on now.
I say that he will not, but I hear experts saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Is that a pedigree? Is that a bloodline? Because his dad's not in the Hall of Fame, and Archie was a way better quarterback than Eli. I'll tell you that all day long.
Yep.
So, I mean, I just don't know. It's something to ponder because to play your way out of the Hall. The only guy that's ever done that is Pete Rose, and he gambled his way out of the Hall. I mean, but that's
and he'll get in.
And he'll get in. They'll do to him what they did to Jim Thorpe. They would give him all of his Olympic medals and stuff back after he's dead. They give him to his family. They'll probably wait till Pete dies, and then they'll put him in the Hall of Fame, which is kind of tragic, but they will.
So, guys, the number one overall pick in the draft, Kyler Murray makes his debut at home against the Lions. All 5'10", maybe 195 pounds
that's
of
pushing.
at the quarterback
he's about
position.
5'8.5". He's not a big guy.
Your
at all.
initial impressions of what you think Kyler Murray's going to do in the NFL?
I think Kyler Murray might actually end up back with the Vegas Aviators in about 2 years.
Wow.
I think he could flame out that bad, and if he does flame out, he goes for baseball. He's just too small. I've never seen him actually step up in the pocket before. Mm-hmm. Whenever he took pressure last year, he ran around the end with his 4.3 40 and threw it off his back foot. That is not going to fly in the NFL. He weighs about maybe 200 pounds. He takes a couple of big hits. He's out. I think Kyler Murray will be one of the biggest busts in NFL history.
Wow, really interesting, I can't disagree with that. I think he is very gifted athletically.
He is, absolutely.
But in size and stature, I mean, that means so much in the National Football League. You know, Doug Flutie was the most dynamic little guy to ever play in college.
Been one of Doug.
And he still didn't have a great, successful career in the NFL.
Right.
He is a Hall of Famer in Canada, not in the National Football League. But, wow, big Kyler Murray and the Lions. It's funny, I have this as a win, Chris, for the Detroit Lions, but I'm scared because if you remember last year, after throwing his first pass as a pick six for the New York Jets against the Lions, Sam Darnold, somehow they made him look like Joe Willie was reborn again.
Seriously.
I got a feeling that somehow the Detroit Lions are going to make Kyler Murray look like the second coming on Sunday. I pray that I'm wrong, but man, they have a way of doing that to us, don't they?
You know, I like that secondary with Tease Tabor.
Yep.
And Darius Slay. Darius Slay is actually a really
Darius Slay is one of the best cornerbacks.
He is a really,
He's a
really good
lockdown
cornerback.
guy, man. He's a lockdown
absolutely.
guy.
They've got a lot of depth. They've drafted more cornerbacks too. I like Killebrew at safety. I think the Lions are going to be pretty solid. Christian Jones, they just picked up another linebacker.
We picked up Jason Kabinda from the Raiders because of the injury to Jared Davis, who's a middle linebacker. Jared Davis out of Florida.
How long is he out
Second
for?
year. I think he's out for at least 7 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Because he's outstanding.
He's
by
out
the
for a
way.
while, yeah.
Defensively, they're going to be pretty strong. Offensively, it's a question. Can a guy like Galladay step up and be a big-time receiver in the National Football League? Is that a possibility?
And
like you said, carry on last year's second in yards from scrimmage or what have you, or second in rushing attempts or whatever it was. But the truth of the matter is
yards per carry.
Yards per carry, which is a huge
It's extremely
important statistic. And like you said, their offensive line is now played together for a little bit. They're shored
And
up.
they're all first-round picks.
That is going to be the key. And Matthew Stafford, you said, 32 is when you see a quarterback enter his prime. Matthew Stafford for 6 years has been one broken collarbone away from retirement. He's been somehow healthy for 6 seasons. I'm terrified. I'm not going to jinx the guy, but I'm terrified.
I like
I
adding.
think you just did.
I did.
I like adding Danny Amendola because he's that safety valve.
Yep.
He catches everything thrown to him. He runs good routes. I think that's going to help him out a lot as well.
The lion's share of the NFL action goes down this Sunday for Week 1. Lee, tell us about the information for the GCI guys.
Yeah. Hey, if you know anyone looking, go ahead.
That is GCI, guys.
Golf Charlie Indigo. Good at what we do, creative, caring, and innovative at what we do.
Yeah.
If you or anyone you know looking to buy or sell or even rent this weekend, call me 702-902-3029. I've got open houses going on all over the valley this weekend. Check us out on social media at the GCI Guys.
And Mr. Feldman, talk to us.
I just want to let you know that Monday night, first of all, I do mortgages as well, so me and Lee will talk after the show. But other than that, I wanted to let you know that Monday Night Football, we host those Monday night parties every year up at the Montecito Crossing Plaza. We're up there. We're up there this Monday night. I'll be up there. Caleb Herring will be joining me, and it looks like we might have a few of the NFL Oakland Raider alumni guys that'll be joining us as well. Come on up, man. We give away free wings. We give away replica jerseys. It's every Monday night throughout the season. It is at the Monday night, the Buffalo Wild Wings at the 215 in Montecito Crossing Plaza. It's on North Durango, real close to Centennial Hills Hospital. Come on up, tap me on the shoulder, and say hello, and I'll give you some free wings.
And then I will actually be joining Ken Thompson and Brad Powers tonight from Legacy Stadium, 8 to 10 p.m. SportsX Radio, going over every single college football game and NFL game for the weekend.
Thanks to JD. Thanks to Brian. Thanks to Lee. I'm Chris Wynn in for Brian. He'll be back on Monday. It is the Vegas Take coming your way. Have a great weekend, everybody.